monde, j'espère que vous allez bien. Thank you so much for the excellent responses and all of those comments, because it does help me, motivates me, and I really want to genuinely help all of you who wants to clear TEF Canada French exam, wants to migrate to Canada. Those of you do not know me, this is Ankita Agrawal. I learned French while I was in India, cleared the TEF Canada exam, got the PR, migrated to Canada, and now I reside in Toronto, and I do help a lot of students to learn French and clear the TEF Canada French exam. If you would like to speak to me or take a guidance about the TEF route, French route, exam, please click on the below link and I'll be very happy to guide you. Now for this video is being made absolutely on the demand of one of my followers who really needed my help to understand the structure of Section B, particularly how to conquer this. So stay tuned, watch the video till the end, because I am going to talk about the do's and don'ts of the Section B TEF Canada speaking exam. Let's start. Right, so now you have a fish in front of you, so we'll take this sample as an example of this particular video. Now, so once you have the fish in front of you, it depends on your interlocutor how much prep time they might give, but on the record it is 1 to 2 minutes. Now when it is 1 to 2 minutes, technically it's not a prep time, because you wouldn't have a time to have a pen and paper, write the entire sentences, unless the examiner is like really godsend examiner for you. But otherwise it's just enough to read the content well and consume it and understand it at how much or how the way I'm going to attempt it. So this is enough to start with. So tip number 1. Now, the tip number 1 is that you just can put your heads down as much as you want to, and unless you bring it up, the moment you put your heads up, the examiner might just say, "Vous êtes prêt?" ou bien "Vous êtes prête?" and you will have to launch the conversation. So this is just tip number 1. Take your time a little bit, but trust me, you wouldn't get enough time to prepare because the mind is in stress at that time. Moving further, as soon as you have a fish in front of you, then the second thing that you're supposed to do is to understand what exactly I'm supposed to convince to the examiner. Now, examiner is apparently your friend, obviously for the speaking Section B. So use the language which is informal, like tutoyer. Very important. Second thing, in the presentation, do not try and convince your examiner, because presentation is not about convincing. Presentation is only about that what exactly I'm calling you for, what exactly we are meeting for. So, for example, if the presentation is about like convincing your examiner for the benevola, or is it any activity in particular? Is it the one which is right in front of you as a sample, that you have to convince your friend to participate in a one-day activity for the cleanliness of your city? So something like that. So this is something you're supposed to do in the presentation, that what exactly I'm calling you for. Do not try and convince here. That's not something the presentation is about. The duration of the presentation can be about 1 to 2 minutes, depending on your fish and your interlocutor. Sometime in some centers, the examiner do interrupt in the middle of presentation. Do not get panic about it. If that happens, continue whatever she says or he says and take it further from there. For the presentation, I have certain noted down sentences or phrase that you can use, which I'll put it here, which is d'abord, il s'agit de, bien que, ni et moi, which are amazing connectors, en effet, en fait. Alors cette affiche, pour tout dire, ou bien tout simplement, ce que je trouve intéressant, ou bien ce que je trouve vraiment intéressant, c'est que moi, je t'encourage de le faire. Ça te dit, ça te va, ça te dirait, comme ça. So you can use all of these words or similar to them, or maybe some of them, depending what exactly your affiche is about. And of course, you can present your document. Coming to the next part of the video, which is about the context, that how exactly you're supposed to convince your examiner and what sort of arguments the examiner can pose, is as now. Okay. Now coming to the second part of the video, which is about the arguments. Now for the arguments, it is super important that first you understand what is she saying or he's saying. Now, sometimes what happens while doing the practice with my students, I realize that they do not listen to me as an examiner. What is my argument? Is my argument that I do not have time, or is my argument that I am not interested? There is a difference, and you have to approach the argument exactly what she or she would ask. For example, if she says or he says that I do not have time, then you have to attack the argument exactly on this perspective. Do not deviate, do not think, or do not use your scripted material or sentences to start your conversation with, because that might give her a notion that you have a scripted French return in your mind, and you wouldn't be able, you are not somebody who is naturally speaking like this. So that is like is a notion which is created, and that's something you completely want to avoid. Now, what sort of argument can be brought? Voila. So if you talk about these arguments like moi, je travaille, j'ai pas de temps, quelle est la motivation, ça n'est pas mon responsabilité, je ne gagne rien, and all of that, they can be different argument depend on the affiche. Now, what is affiche? Of course, the question. So it is super important that you understand the context, you understand the argument well. Now, I want to answer certain questions. The first thing, what if we don't understand? Because you might be a beginner level French learner, or you might be intermediate level French person who is taking the TEF for the first time, and you might be a little shy, timid, and not well prepped. So you might come across a word which you don't understand. So no need to get panic. You can all by means ask, you know, the examiner, désolé, j'ai pas compris ça. J'ai pas compris ça. Qu'est-ce que tu veux dire par là? Qu'est-ce que tu veux dire par là? So what do you exactly mean by that? Or qu'est-ce que tu veux dire? Qu'est-ce que tu veux dire? Quel est le sens de ça? So you can ask in this way, and this really impress examiner always, because they understand that you have an ability to ask the question back if you don't understand something. So please, by all means, use this trick. Point number 2, if your examiner do not get convinced. So here is a notion, guys. This exam is not about your selling skills or marketing skills, right? This is about your French linguistic skills. So do not get stressed at all if even at the end the examiner is not convinced, and your conversation is ended by the fact that, no, I'm not finally convinced. It's okay. No, not a problem at all, because whatever number you had to get, you would have been evaluated already by the examiner by your French linguistic skills and not by your convincing skills. So that, I think, should be sorted. Coming to the point number 3, that what if the examiner is adamant on a certain argument? For example, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. So you keep saying or giving an argument to her like, okay, if you don't have money, I can give you the money, I can lend some money to you. Okay, we'll borrow some money for this activity. Okay, maybe we can save, you know, for the save some money for this activity, something or the other. But the examiner keeps on repeating it. First of all, the examiner deliberately won't do that because of the fact that they also want to see your different aspects, how you can really, you know, show off and boast of your different vocabulary. So they also won't get adamant more than 3 times. That's one. That's not a rule, but generally that happens. Now, secondly, if in case it happens, you can also behave and act like an exact friend. No, I don't understand why you're being so stubborn. I really want to get this activity done. It has to be done with you. You have to come. I do not know, and you must come by hook or by crook. Use a lot of subjunctives, use a lot of phrasal idiomatic expressions of French, and that way you would be able to boast your vocabulary, your amazing French linguistic skills, and you would leave actually no stone unturned to convince your examiner. And even if she doesn't get convinced or he doesn't get convinced, doesn't matter, guys, because at the end your French was awesome, and that is how you conquer the section B. Before I conclude the video, I want to give you certain tips and tricks which would definitely help you to elevate the level in Section B speaking exam. The first thing first, boast of your different grammatical French range. For example, use these sentences of subjunctive, subjunctive présent, conditional présent, futur simple, or maybe conditional passé. Use lot and lot of them so that you can boast of your different grammatical knowledge of French. Tip number 2, keep the conversation as a dialogue. I mean to say that do not convert that into a nice long lecture. Do not put that into a monologue, because at the end it is a dialogue and it has to be a conversation, a friendly conversation. You can even add an element of humor if you want to. And third is connector logic. Mind you guys, connector logic is really like soul of French exams, DELF, DALF, TCF, TEF, anything you take. Connector logic is something that you cannot do away with. So please use them judiciously and use them to get those brownie points. So before I sign off, I'm going to leave you with certain scripts here, and that can really help you and give some ideas that how exactly you can come up with certain phrasal verbs, expressions, ideas. And please leave in the comment if there is something that I can help you else with, and if there is anything that you want to speak to me personally on, use the below description link. Subscribe to my channel, like the video. Au revoir. Merci beaucoup.